Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast. And today I'm going to give my review of AEW's Dynamite. Before I even get started, man, this episode is going to be a lot different than most episodes, man. I'm just going to talk to you guys about how I felt about Dynamite last night. It's not even worth me going over the entire show because the show was absolutely awful. I'm going to give you guys my takes on it, what I think needs to be improved, and obviously the build-up and everything coming out from Wrestle Dream. So let's start with the actual show from Dynamite last night, man. Do I think it was a good show? Hell no. Absolutely not. And the crazy thing is I've been saying this for the past few weeks, man. We have no storylines for AEW at all. I'm just going to keep it a buck with y'all, man. We have no storylines for this company at all, and it's decimating this company. You have Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson this weekend on Saturday for Wrestle Dream, live from Tacoma, Washington, where Bryan Danielson will face Jon Moxley for the AEW, or Jon Moxley will face Bryan Danielson for the AEW World Title. Do I think Danielson's going to walk out of Wrestle Dream with that belt? No, I do not. I don't. I think this is going to be the end-all be-all for Danielson, and Moxley will become the new AEW World Champion, and Bryan Danielson will retire from full in-ring wrestling. He'll have a part-time schedule. But the build is that's the only build they have towards this show, and it's not saying a lot. There's really not a lot going on right now between Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson, in my honest opinion. With that being said, with the storyline with Jon Moxley, I know I have been the main person that's been saying, hey, it's going to be Shane McMahon that's going to be taking control over this stable. I don't know, bro, to be honest with you. There's been a lot of speculation as of late, especially with the new trademark that Jon Moxley has filed and got. It looks like this might have a lot to do with Moxley teaming up with Sami Callihan. And Sami Callihan might be possibly making his way over to AEW, which will be a great addition to the AEW roster. Do I think we're going to see Shane at some point? I think so. But do I think it's going to be with Jon Moxley? I don't know. Now, do I think they need someone like Sami Callihan or Shane to show up on Saturday to kind of shake things up? Hell to the yeah. This company, man, it's from what it was in the first 3 years to what it is now for the past 2 years has been literally night and day. And not in a good way. They have been on a decline immensely, bro. And Tony Khan's mission statement is, well, I'm booking wrestling for the sickos. You even heard, I believe it was Danny Garcia, which I'll get into in a second, said that, he's here for the sickos, the wrestling sickos. Bro, that shit's not working. That whole concept of that is not working. And I mentioned this multiple times about AEW, and I know I've said it to the rooftops till I'm blue in the face, that AEW and Tony Khan have a tendency to book these shows as if you're watching All Japan Pro Wrestling from the 1980s, 1970s. Where there's no tournaments, it's the best versus the best, and we're putting on dream matches. And I mentioned multiple names that were wrestling for All Japan back in the day. You got Misawa, you got Kawada, you got, Dr. Death Steve Williams, you got Vader, Muta, Dynamite Kid made a name for himself over in All Japan as well. So, I mean, there was dream matches, Tiger Mask as well. I mean, there was a lot of dream matches going on at All Japan Pro Wrestling. And this is exactly what we're getting now with AEW. Where we're not getting storyline-based wrestling. For right now, we're getting the best versus the best, and we're getting these so-called dream matches on a consistent basis. I mean, if you look recently at AEW's 5-year anniversary, we got one of the best high-profile matches in the world with Will Ospreay and Ricochet. Now, was there any build to that match? Absolutely not. The build off that match was basically sold on the fact that these two gentlemen, Ricochet and Will Ospreay, have had a past and have wrestled each other on the indies, whether it was Rev Pro or PWG. Well, to be honest with you, a lot of the fans really didn't get a chance to see them wrestle in Rev Pro or PWG. It's independent wrestling companies. It's not really televised. Not televised at all, to be honest with you. So a lot of people, the fans nowadays, don't really understand the situation there between Will Ospreay and Ricochet. Now, they do know that the caliber talent of what Ricochet is, obviously coming over from WWE. And they know the caliber of talent with Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay is probably the best wrestler in the world right now. But they needed story. And without that storyline between Ospreay and Ricochet, it took a lot out of that match. There was really no vocal point in that matchup between Ricochet and Ospreay. Now, there will be a rematch, from what I understand, this weekend at Wrestle Dream. It'll be a triple threat matchup between Will Ospreay, Ricochet, and Takeshita this Saturday in Tacoma, Washington for Wrestle Dream. To be honest with you, I think what's going to happen here is, depending on the situation, Ricochet's going to get lost in the shuffle, man. You're going to see Ricochet, I'm pretty sure, probably on Rampage, Collision, and if not, possibly Ring of Honor. And Ring of Honor is an absolutely dead brand right now. Hands down. This company, it's starting to show, bro. You know, Tony Khan wears a lot of hats. A lot of hats, bro. Whether it's with the Jacksonville Jaguars or the soccer team that they own, to AEW, to Ring of Honor, and writing these shows for Ring of Honor and AEW and Dynamite and Collision. He wears a lot of hats on a consistent basis. I don't even think this guy even sleeps, to be honest with you. And if he does, I'll be very surprised if he does. He's constantly going and going and going, bro, and it's starting to show, and it's making these shows almost hard to watch. I mean, literally, you know, Dynamite was live last night. They went head-to-head with NXT for the first time in quite a while, and for what I understand, NXT destroyed them probably in the ratings last night compared to Dynamite. Dynamite was awful, man. We didn't hear anything from Adam Page. We know Jay White had called out Adam Page for a match that's going to happen relatively soon. You know, I think the highlight of the night was Danny Garcia. When Danny Garcia came out to the ring and announced that he has re-signed or is going to stay with AEW. Okay, fine, that's great. Where else was he going to go? NXT? No, Tony Khan is going to pay him astronomically amount of money to keep Danny Garcia, only due to the fact that he does not want to see his talent go back over or go to the competition. So he's going to overpay for talent. Do I think Danny Garcia is good? Yeah, he's a good wrestler. But we haven't seen the best from Danny Garcia yet. We have not seen that. And to be honest with you, I mean, AEW, and I've mentioned this multiple times in the past, unfortunately with people taking time off, it actually cripples this company even more. Not seeing Swerve, not seeing MJF, not seeing Adam Cole, not seeing Kenny Omega, not seeing Kota Ibushi, and seeing these certain talents, Keith Lee, you know, not seeing these talents is also crippling the company because Tony Khan does not know how to build stars. The other thing I want to talk about briefly and quickly is Darby Allin. Darby Allin cut a promo last night talking about Brody King. Brody King comes out to the ring, they cut a promo back and forth, and it was a decent back and forth segment between Brody King and Darby Allin. My issue with this is two things. One, we've already seen this damn matchup between Darby Allin and Brody King months ago. And Darby lost. Brody King choked him out. The other issue I have with this is the comment that Darby Allin had made and said that he is the face of AEW. Well, bud, with all due respect, I don't think so. And I don't think Tony Khan sees you in that same light either. Because if he did, you would have the title opportunity against Bryan Danielson this weekend at WrestleDream and not Jon Moxley. To be honest. The match between Moxley and Bryan Danielson doesn't even need to have the title on the line. At all. At all. The title means nothing in this storyline. This is everything of Jon Moxley trying to retire Bryan Danielson. The title doesn't mean anything in this matchup. At all. And I'm sorry, but like I told you guys, with the fact that this pay-per-view, WrestleDream, is in Tacoma, Washington, and obviously Bryan Danielson's from Washington State as well as Darby Allin, they could have headlined this event and it would have sold out. Absolutely. This would have been their money-making match, besides Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson, which we've already seen before when Jon Moxley was trying to recruit Bryan Danielson to the Blackpool Combat Club. It's the same shit. Rinse and repeat. You know, and like I said, match quality-wise last night, the best match on the card was probably, I hate to say it, was Hologram versus Commander. And that's saying a lot. That's saying a lot. And Tony Khan and AEW are pushing Hologram to the goddamn moon. Absolutely. Do I think he's ready for a title opportunity? Hell no. No. Absolutely not. Tony Khan doesn't know what the hell he's doing, to be honest with you. And I mentioned this about Bobby Lashley coming in and everything else like that. I would have gone to TNA Impact, to be honest with you. He's going to get lost in the shuffle, man, to be honest with you. Tony Khan doesn't, like I said, he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. There's no storyline, there's not a when, where, and a how. And that's what's starting to slowly piss fans off, myself included. You hear all these other podcasters that have been around a lot longer than I have, that have been in the business and doing this for quite a while. And they're all saying the same shit and reiterating the same shit, and the fact that, I'm 100% behind them, with the aspect that shit needs to change with AEW. This shit's bad, man. This is awful. The booking here it's not even logical booking. It's illogical. It makes no fucking sense at all. And we're getting matches that we've already seen before, with no storyline, no build, rinse, and fucking repeat. And that's exactly what we're getting with this goddamn show. It's sad. And my biggest fear with them getting this TV deal was that, you know what, they're making their money, to hell with everybody else. And I feel like this is progressively going to keep happening and continuing with AEW. Because they got their money. They got their TV deal for the next 4 years. They're trying to get a deal with Fox, Fox Television for Shockwave. They're already putting their lines in the sand at this point. And to be honest with you, Tony Khan, he needs to be on the hot seat this year for these next couple years. When it pertains to Time Warner and Warner Media. Because the shit right now is not adding up, man. It's not. If you're a fan of AEW and you thought last night's show was great, I don't know what to tell you. You're not a pro wrestling fan, dude. And I mean that with the utmost respect. Last night's show was awful. Absolutely awful. Illogical booking, no storylines, no build towards Wrestle Dream. We got nothing. Nothing. That's worthwhile for us to really sink our teeth into as fans and be like, holy shit, this is happening at Wrestle Dream. You had a video package play last night with Swerve Strickland in a gym with someone that nobody really knows who that guy is. So who the hell is that guy that he's training with? You know what I mean? And then we're gonna hear from Swerve at Wrestle Dream because of comments that MVP made towards Prince Nana. You know what I mean? He's not gonna be in a damn match, but we'll hear from Swerve this weekend at Wrestle Dream. That's it. And then you have Jay White attacking Adam Page. We haven't heard jack shit from Adam Page since the attack that he had from Jay White. We haven't heard a frickin' thing yet. Nothing. The fucking pay-per-view's this weekend. This weekend, on Saturday. We haven't heard shit from Adam Page. Nothing. You got the Young Bucks versus Private Party. We haven't heard shit from the Young Bucks. They weren't even on Dynamite last night. Nothing. They're okay. I mean, the way it's looking right now, Tony Khan and the Young Bucks are okay with the status quo of this company. They're here to make their fucking money, man, and that's it. This booking for the sicko shit, it means jack shit. Nothing. It doesn't mean a goddamn thing. Look at the ratings, bro. Look at the ratings. Look at the attendance. Look at the amount of tickets that are getting sold for these shows. They haven't even sold out a regular arena for a Dynamite in probably past couple of years. They can't even sell out pay-per-views. You look at Grand Slam, they only sold, 7,000 seats? Before that, it was 11,000 seats that were sold. They're struggling, bro. They are struggling. Absolutely. And the crazy thing about this whole thing, is they got the goddamn talent to build these storylines and make these shows captivating, bro, and they don't do it. Their weekly episodic television doesn't mean shit to them. Doesn't mean a damn thing to Tony Khan. Tony Khan's Mr. Pay-Per-View, I'll give him that. I mean, I'm not going to say that for this weekend, because I think this pay-per-view this week is going to be an absolute flop. I do. There's nothing on this card where I'm like, holy shit, besides maybe Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson, which we've already seen them wrestle like a year ago. So what the fuck are we doing here? Really? Darby Allin's obviously going to be on the card. He's probably going to face off against Brody King, most likely. I think that's already booked. We've already got that damn match, too. So, you couldn't do anything better than that? You know what I'm saying? Mark Briscoe versus Chris Jericho? Jericho's career is done. Jericho's on the same boat with Jeff Jarrett. The career is done. The Learning Tree that whole gimmick with the Learning Tree is a bunch of horse shit, to be honest with you. I mean, it's fucking ridiculous, man. And usually I'm the one over here praising AEW and, I have a lot of faith in AEW. I'm going to be honest with you, man. I don't have a lot of faith in this company right now. I don't. I absolutely do not. This company is failing themselves and their fans. And I feel like Tony Khan is so delusional that he doesn't truly understand really what the hell is going on with AEW. Or he's too naive to really look into really what the hell is going on here. Because the company is crumbling. Yeah, they signed a new TV deal. Woohoo! Great. What happens when people stop coming to these shows, bro? And AEW starts losing more talent and that talent's going over to WWE. You think those fans are going to really stick around, dude? No. They're going to go over to WWE. And WWE's firing on all cylinders. And don't get me wrong, I chewed out Monday Night Raw too because I thought Raw was shit, to be honest with you. And it was the first Raw that Raw was 2 hours. And the show, I thought the show sucked, to be honest. I'm hoping SmackDown's better. And it should be. There's a lot of questions that we want answers to. What's next for Roman? Who's going to align themselves up with Roman? Well, we want to hear from Jimmy Uso. Are we going to hear any more details about Dwayne The Rock Johnson showing up at Bad Blood? SmackDown should be really good. Are we going to get any more insight between Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens? SmackDown should be a great show this Friday night. But Dynamite was horrible, dude. Literally. There was nothing in there that really, you could sink your teeth into. You got Britt Baker was supposed to be scheduled for a match against Willow Nightingale for the number 1 contender. And then Baker calls out because she's sick. And then there was a fatal 4-way matchup for the number 1 contender for the Women's Championship. Which I believe was Saraya, Nyla Rose, Jamie Hayter, and Willow Nightingale. And let's look at that narrative for 1 second. That fatal 4-way. Number one, Jamie Hayter beat Saraya. Okay? And Saraya's in this number one contendership matchup for the AEW Women's Championship. Jamie Hayter beat her clean in a Saraya rules match. And whatever the hell that means. Beat her clean. Then you look at the other side of the fence. You look at Nyla Rose, who really hasn't done much in AEW as of late. She is the stepping stone for the AEW Women's Division. If you look at majority of the women winning their belt the first time, who are they defending against first? It's usually Nyla Rose. She's a stepping stone, man, for the women, for the Women's Championship title. And then you have Willow Nightingale, which I thought she was in a storyline with Chris Statlander, if I wasn't mistaken. I guess not. So, I mean, I'm happy that Willow won. I mean, I'd be more happy if Jamie Hayter won, but Hayter left the match and walked to the back because she was attacked by Penelope Ford, who we haven't probably seen on AEW television in almost 2 freaking years. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck are we doing here? Really? I don't understand this booking, man. I don't. And like I told you guys, this whole review is going to be a hell of a lot different than what I've usually done. I usually guys give you a full review. I couldn't, dude. It was so hard for me to get through that goddamn show last night. It was unreal. The start time was awful. I believe there was even an overrun last night with AEW, I believe. It was awful, man. Like, what the fuck are we doing here? Shit needs to change with AEW drastically. And with Tony Khan getting all this damn money from Warner Brothers Discovery and Time Warner, let's put some of that money into a writing team, please. Because if not, I'm telling y'all, this company's going to fold. It's going to fold. And you're going to start seeing more talent getting pissed off, not being utilized, no predominant storylines. The fans are going to start getting pissed off and not really trusting what Tony Khan's doing. And they're going to go over to WWE. Because right now, with everything that's going on with WWE, they're firing all cylinders right now. Hands down. Storylines, quality of matches, and the quantity of matches on pay-per-views. You got a pay-per-view with, AEW this week. It's probably going to be 12 goddamn matches. That's going to run you from, 7, 8 o'clock Eastern all the way until about midnight. And the matches mean absolutely nothing. Nothing. This pay-per-view, to me, is an example of a filler pay-per-view. This pay-per-view, I don't think it's going to be that great. I genuinely don't. I think it's one of those bullshit pay-per-views this year for AEW. Might be the worst pay-per-view of AEW's calendar year, to be honest with y'all. I don't think it's going to be that good. Shit needs to change, man. And I'm not the only one that's preaching this. I'm not the only one that's saying this shit. Everybody that I talk to and other people, like I said, other podcasters that are out there that, are doing their thing out there and higher up on the Richter scale, if you will, for podcasters, they're all saying the same shit. And I have to agree with them, man. I do. I can't say that I don't. Shit needs to change. The illogical booking is ridiculous. It's crippling this company. But like I said, I feel as if Tony Khan's so naive that he thinks whatever he's doing, it's working. And ultimately, it's not. You see it in ticket sales, and you see it in the ratings. This company is failing. Drastically. It's a slow burn, dude. And it's sad to see. It's sad to see what AEW once was in the first 3 years to what it's been in the past 2 years. I mean, it's absolutely night and goddamn day. Absolutely. Oh my God. I mean, the roster was stacked then. And you had the pillars of AEW. You had Darby, you had Ricky, you had MJF, you had Britt Baker, Nyla Rose. All these individuals that were pillars for AEW. That's just not even the same anymore. It's not. It's absolutely not. In AEW in the first 3 years, they were firing on all cylinders, man. It was must-watch TV. Now, it's almost hard to watch this shit anymore, to be honest. I mean, it's brutal, man. It's absolutely brutal. And I hate sounding like a broken record, but it's the truth, man. I'm not going to bullshit y'all. There's no storylines with this shit. And at the end of the day, if you're a pro wrestling fan, like myself, and I'm probably y'all too, you need a story. You need a predominant story, something that we can sink our teeth into. I can go back and tell y'all different matches I've seen storylines with that were perfect matches. Poetry in motion. Prime example, Sami Zayn, when Zayn was in the Bloodline. Absolutely perfect, man. When Zayn finally turned his back on Roman and hit Roman with that goddamn chair, the crowd erupted. There was people crying in the audience, praising Sami Zayn. for him finally getting the hell away from Roman Reigns when he was when he was the leader and the tribal chief of the bloodline. People were crying in the office, in the audience, man, men and women, crying. Absolutely. You look at NXT and what they did in the Black and Gold brand, and I mentioned this multiple times. The shit they did for NXT Black and Gold was insane. The story, the build, Ciampa, Gargano, Andrade, Aleister Black. Aleister Black getting attacked backstage. Nikki Cross whispered in his ear saying, "I know who attacked you backstage." Shit like that, bro. Undisputed Era. You know what I'm saying? Like, it ain't hard. It's not hard. And I'll put it to you like this. Besides Adam Page and Swerve Strickland, the last storyline that we got, that I can honestly say that was worth the damn, besides Page and Swerve, was Adam Cole and MJF when Adam Cole turned heel. And he was the person behind the Devil's Mask. That was the last storyline this company had that fans were actually invested in. And even that storyline, the well was running dry with that storyline alone. They were milking that storyline for a long, long time. That was, in my honest opinion, besides Swerve and Page, that was the last time we had a predominant storyline in AEW. To be honest with you. That actually meant a damn. We haven't got shit, man. We haven't got shit. And the funny thing is, the best storylines AEW's had, majority of them, has a lot to do with MJF. From MJF and Pinnacle to MJF and Inner Circle, MJF and Cody Rhodes, MJF and Chris Jericho, and that Broadway, a Broadway show segment they had. It was hilarious. MJF's return, MJF and the Devil Mask with Adam Cole. I mean, MJF has been through some of the best storylines AEW's put together, to be honest with you. And AEW's had some good moments here and there. I mean, I think the last best moment they had besides Swerve and Page, I would also say, would probably be Sting's retirement match. Tony Khan did a fantastic job with Sting's retirement tour. I think that was the best thing that he's done so far with AEW. It was fantastic. But like I said, even when it pertains to Darby Allin, and Darby's telling everybody, oh, well, he's the face of the company. If that's the goddamn case, why are you not in this goddamn championship match, and why is it Jon Moxley? They dropped the ball with that shit, man. I'm sorry. They absolutely dropped the ball with that. I'm not saying that there wasn't going to be a match between Danielson and Moxley down the road. I'm not saying that. But the pay-per-view is in the state of Washington. Both Danielson and Darby Allin are from the state of Washington. That could have main evented Wrestle Dream this weekend, and that match alone would have sold out. Because at the end of the day, Darby Allin should be the guy that beats Bryan Danielson, wins the belt, and Bryan Danielson retires from full in-ring, full in-time ring wrestling. It should be Darby Allin. Now, I don't know if it's because Tony Khan doesn't have a lot of faith in Darby Allin, which I don't know why. But Darby really can't say he's the face of the company without that goddamn championship. That's just the way it is, man. That is the way it is. That's the way the cookie crumbles. And Darby doesn't have that goddamn belt right now. And Darby's taking a back seat thanks to Jon Moxley. So I feel like with Tony Khan, man, his safety net has always been and will always be Jon Moxley. And like I said, I'd be very surprised, when Saturday comes around, that Danielson's going to walk out still AEW World Heavyweight Champion, to be honest with you. And I'm still going to say the same thing now that I'm saying for the review of Wrestle Dream. They dropped the ball with that shit. They dropped the ball with it. It should have been 100% Darby Allin. Darby deserved the opportunity. Darby worked his ass off, got the opportunity to get that chance at Bryan Danielson just for it to be taken away by Jon Moxley. For what? The belt, the title in this matchup between Moxley and Danielson means absolutely jack shit. This matchup between Moxley and Danielson's happened because of the actions of Jon Moxley and what he did to Bryan Danielson at the end of All Out. That's the reason why we're having this matchup between Mox and Danielson. That's 100% the reason why. The title, on the other hand, is an afterthought for this matchup. No one gives a shit about the fucking title in this match. They care about the outcome of what's going to happen between Mox and Danielson. They give a rat's ass about that belt being on the line. No one cares about that goddamn title right now. Now, if it was Darby and Bryan, sure. Because it was an opportunity for Darby to win his first World Heavyweight Championship. It would have been the first opportunity that Darby would have had to really say that he was the face of the company. And Tony Khan would have put the faith in Darby to carry this title and carry this company on his back. And I think Darby could do it. I don't think Tony Khan has a lot of faith in Darby. That's just my personal opinion. And they dropped the ball with it. I mean, the story with the fact of the matter is Tony Khan having a hard time writing stories. That story literally wrote itself. He didn't have to do shit. You didn't have to do a goddamn thing for that. The pay-per-view in Washington State. Danielson's from Washington. Darby's from Seattle. Okay. Main event. Darby Allin, Bryan Danielson, AEW World Heavyweight Championship. Match happens. Darby beats Bryan Danielson in his hometown. He becomes the face of the company. His first ever World Heavyweight Championship win against the caliber of talent of Bryan Danielson. Danielson then retires from full in-ring active duty, if you will, in his hometown, his home state, and he goes to a part-time schedule. And he passes the torch to Darby Allin. It writes itself, man. It's not hard to understand. It's not hard to comprehend neither. I mean, it's easy. For a company that really has a hard time, for some reason, creating storyline and creating buzz and build towards these PLEs or pay-per-views, that was the easiest story that you had to write without even writing it. But no, we're getting Jon Moxley versus Bryan Danielson. Drop the goddamn ball. Absolutely, man. And I stand on a mountain by myself on that. Absolutely. And planting the flag in the ground on that. Absolutely. That flag is right in that goddamn mountain. As far as me saying that they fucked up with that decision, putting Moxley versus Danielson in that title matchup. Absolutely. It should have been fucking Darby Allin. Absolutely. It writes its fucking self, man. It's not hard to comprehend. And when all that shit happened between Moxley and Darby at Grand Slam, I said they fucked this up. They pigeonholed themselves, man. And I told you guys, I'm literally sitting there. I think I remember telling you guys when I did my Grand Slam review, I'm sitting there literally watching the show with my wife, and we're watching it. We're watching the Darby Allin match against Jon Moxley. And my wife was the one that said, Moxley's going to go over and get the win in this match and beat Darby. And I refused to believe my wife. I really did. I said, no, there's no way in hell they're going to do that. And goddamn, she was right. Like normal, she's always right. But we both, after the match, we both looked at each other and said, I think that was a bad decision. I said, yeah. They pigeonholed themselves. And my wife said the same thing. It should have been Darby Allin. And I agree. Absolutely. Not because she's my wife, but I agree with the actual storyline itself. It writes itself, man. Tony Khan needs to bring in a writing team for this company. I can't stress that enough. I really, really can't. And every company's had their really high highs and their low lows. I mean, if you look at, obviously the Vince McMahon era in WWE, it fumbled bad. A lot of talent were unhappy, and talent left and obviously went over to AEW. And Raw and SmackDown really were suffering under the helm, if you will, of Vince McMahon. We all know that. And I'm not going to sit here and go on a tangent about Vince and all this other bullshit. I'm not going to say that. But we know the company was failing with WWE at the time when he was taking over the company. We all knew that. Tony Khan's starting to do the same shit, to be honest with you. He's comfortable, man. Tony Khan is complacent with the way AEW is running, and he's definitely complacent with the money that he just received for a new TV rights deal between Warner Brothers Discovery and Time Warner. And my biggest fear is, when it pertains to AEW, that we're going to get the same shit consistently that we've been getting on Dynamite for the past few weeks. And if that's the case, this company has a shelf life, man. I'm telling you right now. I've seen it. I've seen it with multiple different companies, whether it was wrestling or MMA. I've seen it. You look at WCW. They got bought out by Vince, by WWE. And a lot of those guys from WCW, that was it. That was the end-all, be-all. Some went to TNA, some rode off in the sunset. MMA, even though, it's not the same as WWE or AEW, if you guys are MMA fans out there, like myself included, there used to be a company back in the day, for MMA, which I don't know if you guys are familiar with or not. It was called Elite XC. Now, the big headliner for that company was none other than Kimbo Slice. Kimbo Slice was, a heavyweight MMA fighter, made his name on the streets, fighting in backyards and everything else, and he made a name for himself. And then he got him, people took notice and put him on the pro scene. Elite XC brought them in. I believe the company at the time was owned by the same owner right now of Bellator. They brought him in. I believe he was supposed to fight Shamrock or Tank Abbott or something like that. And one of the guys couldn't make the fight. Kimbo was there. He made weight. He was ready to fight. He was ready to go. So what they did was they were looking all over the place for an opponent for Kimbo because they thought Kimbo was indestructible. So they brought in a guy named Seth Petrozelli. That was the guy's name. Right off the street. They put him in a fight against Kimbo Slice. And no one even gave this guy a time of day. They thought that Kimbo was going to go in there and destroy this guy because he destroyed every other of his opponents. He knocked them all out. So when the bell rings, you got Kimbo Slice on the right-hand side. You got Seth Petrozelli on the left. Bell rings. All of a sudden, Petrozelli knocks out Kimbo Slice. Knocks him out cold. And the fans erupt that night for Elite XC. I believe it was, 72 hours to a week later, that company folded and closed up shop. Why? Because they put their entire stake on the back of Kimbo Slice. And because he lost and got knocked out, that company folded. That's it. And I'm telling you, it's the same thing with AEW, bro. It's going to take that one top name, a Darby, a Mox, a Omega, the Bucks, one MJF, one high-profile name for this company, and they go over to WWE, this company's done. This company's over, man. And it's sad. It really is sad. Because, like I said, I have a lot of praise for Swerve, Adam Page, Kenny Omega, those guys. Britt Baker, and what she's done for the women's division. I feel like she's completely underrated at times. But it's not the same, bro. And obviously things change, to be honest with you. I understand. That's the same thing about Penta and Phoenix. I know some people are saying, they're traitors because they want to leave AEW. No, bro. I'll be ecstatic for them to go over to WWE. Absolutely. Because if you're a fan of them, then you're a fan no matter where they go. And I'm a fan of Penta and Phoenix, man. Wherever they go, I'll be watching. If they go over to the E, I'm all for it. There's nothing else more for those guys to do in AEW. Nothing. Nothing at all. And you think they're going to want to stay after all the bullshit that's happened and, Tony Khan added more, time on Phoenix's contract? No, dude. They're good as gone. I said the same thing about Ricky Starks. I said the same thing about Wardlow. You look at someone like Miro who just asked for his release. For what I understand, I think they might have granted his release. From what I understand, Miro's gone. They're not doing shit with these people. Nothing. Ricky Starks, for what I understand, is still waiting for creative from Tony Khan. Hasn't got shit. And the last time we saw him wrestle, talking about Ricky Starks, he was teaming up with Big Bill. And they were in the storyline with Chris Jericho. You see where Big Bill's at now. He's aligned himself up with Jericho, a part of the learning tree. Where's Ricky? Sitting at home. Not doing shit. Not doing a damn thing. Same thing with Wardlow. I know Wardlow's hurt. I get that. But when he's not hurt and he's with AEW, they don't do shit with him. I said the same thing when he had that storyline with MJF. When he was trying to get away from MJF and do his own thing. It's a great match, great build-up. Wardlow beat MJF. Finally gets away from MJF. Following match that he has is against JD Drake. It's the same thing with Adam Page, bro. Adam Page had one of the craziest controversial matches of AEW in its history with Swerve Strickland in that steel cage match. We all saw what happened in that matchup. And it raised a lot of eyebrows. Absolutely. Very controversial matchup. But after that, then you have him in a program against Jeff Jarrett. You know what I'm saying? Like, what the fuck are we doing, dude? Really? Jarrett? And of all people. And then after that, we got Juice Robinson, which I'm a huge fan of Juice Robinson. I think he's hilarious. I always say he's the Jack Black of professional wrestling. He's absolutely hilarious. But we go from that to, okay, now, Page is going to go up a match against Jay White. Page should be in a high-profile marquee matchup, and we're not getting that. At all. At all. And it's absolutely, it's a goddamn shame, dude. It's an absolute shame that we're not getting Page really in the main event scene after he just had that crazy-ass matchup against Swerve Strickland. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And like I said, I'm not the only one that's telling you guys this shit. You go to another podcaster and they'll say the same shit. AEW needs a writing team at the end of the day. And shit needs to change. Because if not, this company's going to fold, bro. It's going to fold. Talents are going to start getting pissed off. They're going to want to leave. They're going to want to ask for their releases. They're going to want to go to Impact Wrestling, New Japan, Maple Leaf Pro, or WWE. It's going to happen because people are not being utilized. You hear Britt Baker saying it. You hear Ricky Starks saying it. They're not getting utilized, bro. They're not. And I'm sorry, but I stand behind what I said. Not putting Darby Allin in this matchup against Bryan Danielson this weekend at WrestleDream was one of AEW's biggest mistakes of all time, in my honest opinion. As far as a booking standpoint, yeah. They could have done that Moxley and Danielson match any other time besides WrestleDream. But that's what we're getting. You know what I mean? And I'm hoping when WrestleDream happens this weekend that hopefully we get a surprise or something, whether it's a Bobby Lashley, a Sami Callihan, or maybe even a Shane McMahon, because at this point, the company needs it. They need something where it's like, holy shit, because right now we don't have it. They do not have it. And if they're going to do pay-per-views like this, even at a discounted rate, I think a lot of people won't even buy that. Because you can't get invested in what the hell's going on because there's no build. There's no storyline. This was Dynamite's go-home show towards Wrestle Dream, and there's absolutely no build. And as a fan, what really matched besides Moxley and Danielson that you could say, you know what, I'm really invested in this matchup? Really none, to be honest with y'all. Shit needs to change with AEW, and it needs to change here fast. Because if not, this company is going to fail, this company is going to fold, and these talents that are with AEW are going to want to leave and apply their craft somewhere else, whether it's WWE, Impact Wrestling, Maple Leaf Pro, or New Japan Pro Wrestling, because it's going to happen. It's going to happen. If shit does not change, this company's going to be in real trouble here for the next couple of years. I'm telling you right now. Absolutely. But like I said, man, I just wanted to do kind of something different than a regular review because, honestly, man, last night's show was so bad that I had to give my side of how I felt about Dynamite last night and not just give you guys a regular review and really just talk from the heart, man, and really give you guys my opinion of the show. And like I said, man, I thought the show was absolutely shit, to be honest with you, man. And that's as nice as a way I could put it. The show was absolute shit. It was abysmal. It was hard to watch at times, man. And like I said, I hate saying it, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but AEW needs to change. Because, like I said, man, this company's not going to last. But with that being said, this is my review of AEW Dynamite. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classic. Peace.